Okay, I think it's working. So, what did you guys think about the reading 8.16?
So looking just like briefly over it, it's about these two pharmaceutical companies, CVS and CVS and Cardinal Health, and they're being like looked at for exploiting like OxyContin to, like not exploiting, I should say illegal like uses or like substances of OxyContin that are being transaction through cash, like cold cash. So it's like hard to trace. So looking at like this whole story is the first like dilemma that came to mind was breach, like hiding like inside information. These companies could like um these companies could be like aware of like what they're doing is like wrong, but they like are still like driven towards it by cash and like money because that's what like I think is driving them to keep on like giving out illegal subscriptions. Um, I haven't thought about my dilemma, whatever the other word is, ethical. I don't
Um,
know yet.
I agree that like breaches definitely plays a role, but I also
Hmm.
think that what did I just see? Taking unfair advantage is another role because that has to do with consumer protection laws and credit disclosure requirements. So,
Hmm.
like these pharmaceutical companies are like knowingly giving out these drugs that like it's shady to be using cash, and it's just kind of like at the bottom of with the discussion questions, one of the I think it was one of the following statements was we have goals for revenue, and that was kind of alarming to me. So it was like
Hmm.
we're taking advantage of making money off the oxycodone, and even though there are laws regarding it, we're just kind of ignoring them and still selling it the way we want to so we can produce revenue.
Yeah, I agree with both of those. I had breach as one of mine, and then I also had condoning unethical actions because even like though the employees were technically doing it, like doing the transactions, the higher ups knew about it, but they failed to report it. So now it looks even worse on their end because they knew what was happening and decided not to take action to resolve the issue.
Yeah,
Hmm.
definitely.
So now it's like a bigger problem than it had to be.
Yeah. For me, I kind of wrote down like, is this being ethically clueless, or something along the lines of like an ethical chameleon where they're adapting to the ethics of those who they're working with? Like, I don't think
Hmm.
these people are necessarily clueless because there are laws regarding it. Like, there is an opioid epidemic happening across our nation,
Hmm.
and there are rules surrounding it. So it's like, are they just kind of going along with what the other people are doing? Are they doing it for the company where it's like, okay, if I do this, no one's gonna find out. We're gonna make more money. I'm gonna look better. It's fine type of thing, but they ended
Hmm.
up getting busted.
I agree with you on that. Like I don't think these people like are like kids behind, like pharmaceutical companies. They're like adults that are aware of like what they're giving out in the situation, like in that way. And uh, like I said, it's just like I feel like money is like a big part of it. Like money turns like you like greedy, and like all these pharmaceuticals are seeing like all this cold hard cash being given to them for OxyContin and they're not complaining about it whatsoever. So why change it or do anything about it,
Yeah,
really?
especially because like me myself, um, like the opioid epidemic kind of like hits home a little bit because I have really good friends who are addicts and like just to see like the ignorance kind of behind these people. Like I've taken a lot of courses where you learn about like doctor shopping, where you go doctor to doctor just to get painkillers and how doctors are overprescribing painkillers where people become addicted and then like this is bigger than just CVS and Cardinal Health.
Hmm.
Um and it's just like it's hard for me to believe like this was just ignorance. I feel like it was definitely a lot of negligence. Like they just neglected to see and like think about those people. But like to be a pharmacist, you have to go to med school. Like you are a doctor, which
Yeah.
is hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it's like these guys aren't stupid. Like
Hmm.
that's the way I see
Yeah,
it. Um,
I actually had Ethically Clueless and Chameleon as well.
yeah,
And I had Clueless because I feel like they're doing it, but they're clueless about the effects. Like they're not thinking in the long run, they're thinking of the short run of money, and they're not
Yeah.
thinking like
definitely.
they're ruining people's lives. And then Chameleon because like they're going along with what's happening. So like if someone were to get a job there, they're most likely to go along with it instead of sticking up for themselves as a new person. So that's
Hmm.
why I think it's like kind of like a snowball effect. Like it's just more and more people getting involved until now it's like they're going to court for it.
Yeah. It's like you saying that, Kelsey, like kind of, I don't know if you were in class on Friday, but like we just watched like a video about like a situation like similar to yours about like teachers and like passing their kids and like they like some of them like erased the answers on their Scantron so that they could pass like the kids so
Yeah.
they could keep their job. But like the one teacher who didn't do that like ended up getting released. And it's kind of like what you're pointing to, like all these pharmaceutical doctors are all like on the same page of, what's like their goal and everything, and like now what's the like actual goal that they should be pursuing. What's they're becoming very spoiled in that way. So I kind of like that.
One of the discussion questions in the text was why is there responsibility for drug distribution when there is not direct knowledge? Um, I wasn't really like I didn't really understand what that was getting at. Like I don't really know what it's asking. Um,
Let me read this.
like there I don't think there's not direct knowledge. Like I think there is knowledge
Hmm.
about the rules and regulations, but why is there responsibility for drug distribution when there is not direct knowledge? I'm not sure how to answer that because it's like a kind of like a confusing question.
It is like I kind of somewhat understand like the responsibility for drug
Yeah.
distribution, but I don't know why
Kind of
the
it's like contradicting, kind of.
yeah, the not direct knowledge kind of confuses the question.
I mean, these companies are the ones who are responsible for giving out the drugs.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
guess for me, I'm kind of taking it as like when there's not direct knowledge, like why are we giving these people these drugs type of thing? Like who is filling these prescriptions? Why are
Yeah.
we taking the hit for it when we
Mhm.
just get the prescription? Like why isn't the doctor taking the hit for it?
Yeah, and like there's a knowledge of the patient really. They just know what's being asked of them. They don't know why. So
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
that could be like there's no knowledge of why.
Um,
Yeah. Like they don't have a reason to explain themselves.
yeah.
Like yeah.
I definitely think that makes sense. And then question number two in the discussion questions was all of those different statements. Like I said, we have goals for revenue. This is a busy pharmacy. I'm oversubscribed for my full shift. Who has time to worry about this? These were just kind of like shocking.
Hmm.
Like the last one, if I say something, they'll get someone else and I'm unemployed. So that definitely relates to the what did I just say? Like the ethical chameleon,
Yeah.
where they are just kind of going along with it because they will lose their job if they speak up.
Hmm.
Um, the one that says there's a lot of orthopedic patients in this area. It's possible. I think that's just like ignorance.
Hmm. Also, like ignorance is like the busy pharmacy. I'm oversubscribed for my full shift. Like
Yeah.
that just sounds like you're making excuses or like you're trying to push away.
Yeah. It also goes back to like what we were saying with like what doctors prescribing these
Hmm.
because you're not supposed to be filling a prescription, especially for like something like that if there isn't a prescription. So,
Yeah,
like
I
maybe they,
definitely, oops,
oh,
sorry.
no, you're fine.
I definitely
There's,
think it goes back further than the pharmacy.
me too.
So, but it's a whole, like, it's such a big problem. And I've done a lot, like, I know a lot about this topic, but it's just such a big issue because people are like, okay, I had knee surgery 2 weeks ago. I'm still in a shit ton of pain. And your doctor says, okay, take Tylenol. Then you take Tylenol. And then you go back to the doctor and you're like, okay, my stomach hurts. All right, well, your liver's failing because you took so much
Hmm.
Tylenol. So it's
Hmm.
like, where's the balance of do I give them a couple more pain pills to get them through the pain, or do I cause them more pain by not giving them to them?
Yeah. It's like one thing, like one problem leads to another.
Yeah,
In that way, like you had I have a headache. Let me take Tylenol, and then next thing you know, your liver's killing you. So they're gonna give you like another thing for your liver, and then who knows what's gonna be after the liver in your body. They're just gonna give you something to fight that off. It's just like a chain reaction, like a domino reaction. So you question yourself, like, when is like all of this gonna stop in
yeah,
terms
like
of
where
like
is the
when I don't have
breaking
to take
point?
more pills? Yeah.
Like, what's the
Another
right
thing,
thing and what's the wrong thing?
yeah,
Hmm.
it's also like I've been looking at like alternative medicines we've been learning about. It's doctors are so quick to give medicine because that's where the money is instead of like natural relief, which also has been proven to help. So it's almost like when is that change going to happen?
Yeah,
Because we don't like there's so many studies now that we don't even need some of these medicines like Tylenol and stuff like that. Like there are other things that are working.
Hmm.
absolutely. And then it's just like most of these people who are on painkillers become addicted just because they don't know anything different. And it's not just painkillers. Like, I know there's a drug called Vyvanse, which is like an ADHD medication. And I've heard like when you don't take it, it like causes you to sleep all day and no one wants that feeling. So it's like they just feel obligated to take it even though they don't need to use it every day.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And that's like it's a controlled substance, so it's like
Yeah.
I don't know. I do know like from firsthand experience there are rules regarding controlled substances because like the company filled my prescription and I didn't like the milligrams. Like it wasn't working right with me. It made me feel like shit. So I asked my doctor to change it. She changed it. And Walgreens was like, sorry, we can't give you this because you just got a fill because it's a controlled substance. And I was like, it's a different medication. Like, I'll bring you the ones I don't want. Like, I don't care for them. I don't need them. And they
Hmm.
were like, well, we're not supposed to do this. And I was like, I'm not using it. Like, it's
Yeah.
frustrating, but like, they were following the rules so properly that it made me upset. So it's just like it ended up working out, but from firsthand experience, I saw the pharmacist follow the rules, like that type of thing. Um, the last question is, what should the companies have done to encourage the employees to raise their concerns?
I feel like this question is a little unfair because the companies could have intervened with the employees
Hmm.
because it's also on the company's hand for expecting the employees to step up instead of going directly in or even like recording them, being like, we have proof of you doing this. Why are you? Like, who told you to do this?
Yeah.
So it's
Um,
unfair to put all that on their employees when they work for them.
yeah, I agree with that. Instead of like I like to use like the saying like don't point like fingers like at one another, like to blame like other people for your actions. It's like the same thing in this scenario. Like the company should take like the debt like the fault for like this problem, and instead of pointing their fingers at the employees who are, giving out these pills and subscriptions, they're like the ones in power. Like they should be, in charge and not have to like point the fingers at the employees to tell them to do their job and everything. Like they should tell them to do it themselves, and, like set standards and rules.
Yeah.
And like to bounce off of that, like this example in the text is literally describing that. It says Walgreens agreed to pay a fine of 80 million to settle charges that it did not have sufficient internal controls in place to stop widespread distribution of this narcotic. Like Walgreens decided to settle instead of like fighting it and being like, okay, we're gonna figure this shit
Hmm.
out. We're gonna train everyone. We're gonna do everything the right way. So like that kind of shows like we have $80 million to pay
I give.
to make
Yeah.
this disappear
Yeah,
instead of doing the
it's
right thing. Where like CVS and Cardinal Health, they had court filings, it looks like,
mhm.
um, and they've terminated customers where they don't fill their prescriptions anymore. So it's like they claim to change practices and provided training to pharmacy personnel. So it's like I think CVS and Cardinal Health were in the right in this situation where Walgreens was like, nah, we'll pay a stupid amount of money to
Yeah.
just make it all
Yeah, they'll
disappear.
they'll take the short road and not the high
Yeah.
road in terms of training and everything. Like CVS and Cardinal Health like took the high road and trained and everything for their employees, but Walgreens kind of took the short road and just paid the 80 million right there and then to avoid like all of altercations and problems. And like I feel like when you do something like that, it could lead like into the future of them doing it again and just
Yeah,
them
I
paying the
think I
fine
was just gonna
again.
say, I think it connects back to like the slippery slope,
Hmm.
saying that we were using a lot, but also, why can't they just flip the table and be like, okay, we'll reward you for every credit card payment you get towards oxycodone,
Yeah.
instead of cash payments. Like instead of being like, okay, let's make the big bucks with cash, let's flip it and reward them for getting credit. So then
Hmm.
that's also raising the concerns with the employees, but also the company benefits from it, like that type of thing. Um, I think there's like multiple ways companies can go about this, but I also think federal regulation is a big thing, and just like all doctors have different practices and their beliefs and whatnot. Like if I was a doctor, I would be very cautious about prescribing stuff like this versus someone who's like, I want the money. And I just think that's
Yeah.
like a personal thing. So I don't know. I think it's complicated and there's definitely a
It
deeper
it
issue
also
behind that.
seems like there could be a doctor working with these pharmacies and maybe they're both benefiting from it because it's weird that only these two pharmacies were the ones having this issue. So that's why I feel like it could have been more than just the pharmacies, or they were filling it without a script. Because it's more than the pharmacy's fault, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I feel like if there was like like insurance can also play a role in this. Like if insurance sees, okay, they had a surgery on their hip, they need pain medication for 6 days following. Let's give them the insurance, like whatever cost difference it is. Let's
Hmm.
let them have that towards their prescription. Or if an insurance company is like, they didn't have any surgeries, we're not gonna allow them to pay just the copay instead of like $600 for 6 pills, like that type of thing.
Yeah.
There's multiple ways to go about it, but like Kelsey said, are they just filling them just to fill them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel
It's a
like
good.
that would have been like caught based on
I
the
know.
inventory.
Hmm.
Unless it's like a sketch doctor who's just like pocketing them and selling them on the streets.
That too. But I mean, it's been done. That's been done for sure during
Yeah.
the
Yeah, what?
opioid.
But there's an epidemic happening for some reason.
Yeah.
It started somewhere. Just like where is it
It's been
gonna
a
end?
while it's been a while for like a long time too. Like it hasn't really like gone away.
Yeah, I
No.
feel
A
like it
while for
started in like the 80s or the 90s, and it's
yeah.
just like grown, and like people are dying every day because of painkillers and overdoses and whatnot. So it's just like, who's gonna figure out how to end this?
Yeah.
When is that gonna happen? Um, let's see. Um, I think that covers everything. Do you guys have anything else to add?
No, I
No,
think
I think the companies being investigated, like they had a right to be investigated, and hopefully by doing this, it'll change the practices and add more trainings and like even background checks and stuff like that for their employees.
mhm.
And that could help resolve the issue instead of paying like how Walgreens paid. Hopefully, it can resolve the issue and actually benefit them
Yeah,
in
I
the
agree. I think they should take the high road and, be more secure on background checks and, practicing and like all of their employees to make sure like none of this or like this thing doesn't happen again. And yeah, I think that's what they should do and not do what Walgreens did and pay that fine because that will just like lead them to do it again and again and they'll just pay that $80
Yeah.
million fine over and over.
I also
So
think that, like in the last paragraph, it says the DEA seeks to hold the corporations responsible because of the lack of on-site presence, whatever. I think the DEA can also kind of play a bigger role where, like, you know how like restaurants have health inspectors? Like,
yeah.
why
yeah,
doesn't the DEA do like pharmacy inspectors?
Hmm.
Where like they show up randomly and they're just like, you guys are doing it wrong. And then
Hmm.
I feel like that will kind of, they might, I don't know. I don't know anything about how pharmacies work, but I think that having the DEA, a federal organization, involved a little bit more would kind of change these habits. But yeah, I think this was
Yeah.
a good conversation.
me too.
Absolutely.
Awesome. I will